Hey guys, welcome back to the Detour Live. Thanks for joining us, and thanks again for all your likes, shares, and subscriptions to the YouTube channel /the Detour Podcast. It does make a difference, so keep subscribing. We've got a great show ahead of us. Joined as always by four-time national road champion Johnny Trevorrow and Neil the Sheriff Stevens live en route to the start of stage 14. I'll start with you, Steve-O. How are you travelling, mate? I hear you've had a theft.
Yeah, it depends who you talk to. I thought it was grand larceny, but bloody the insurance company reckons it's petty theft. I reckon anything over a couple of grand's a bit of pretty heavy anyway. Bloody knocked me around.
So you had your trolley bag nicked, mate. Or your laptop and your bloody chargers. There's a brave man to rob the sheriff.
Yeah. I seem to be pretty dull in that sort of area. Everyone thinks I'm pretty switched on, but geez, didn't take much to fool me. I went to the team bus, left my trolley bag at the foot of the stairs, jumped on to have a bit of a chat to the bus driver. And what this bit of a gang it was, apparently, they drew your attention over one side, saying, hey, come over here, come over there. And we're looking out the window this way. Meanwhile, someone's nicked the trolley bag the other way and pissed off in a car and bloody some of my staff running after them and all sorts of things going on. So I'm actually lucky that no one pulled a knife. And so, anyway, it is the way it is.
So you didn't get them. You haven't got it back.
No. So by the time this woman had to go after her, and then she went through the bloody hotel and that sort of stuff. By the time the cops turned up, they said, "Look, we know who it is. We know the number plate. We know everything about it." But anyway, the main thing was my computer's gone, my tablet's gone, my credit cards. I didn't have much cash on me. But, that's a bit of a pain in the ass. I had to go back and get one of my mates to lend us his credit card. Well, I don't have to share a beer, so that's a good thing. I got no cash, so I'm bloody living on a pretty cheap life at the moment.
But other than that, all good, mate?
Yeah, going good. Hanging out with my little redhead mate, Jack. He's going all right.
Yeah.
And the GC.
He's going all right.
So we've got a little fella, Gino. The team's going well. Mick Yolanda's struggling a little bit, but anyway, we'll see what happens. And we've got a couple of really good stages today and tomorrow, but big stages in the mountains.
Well, just on the stage, have I downloaded the right profile there, Iffy?
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. This looks like a bit of a monster. You know, you've got Cat 3, Cat 1, and that monster climb at the end there. What are you thinking in terms of tactics for today?
I reckon don't let the cat out of the bag, but that little see that little Cat 3 and then goes on to a steep little pitch of Cat 1. That's actually goes up to about 20%. It's the middle of the stage, so theoretically it shouldn't threaten. Put a big threat in the GC. But I reckon there's going to be a bit of a something happen in that middle section that might lead on to some fireworks later on.
Well, the way Roglic is descending, this could be real spicy.
I was just going to say, something needs to happen. I mean, you guys are really strong. You've got a few options in the attack department. Same with the Poms with Sky.
Brain fart.
Brain fart. Getting old.
Ineos. Previous day.
Yeah, that's them. Yeah, that's them. But I think Mass and Lopez, of course, with Movistar, a double-edged sword. You would think this would be the start of something other than just people going hard at the front. There has to be some new tactics worked on. What do you think?
Bloody hell. If you're trying to G me up here, I don't know. I've been trying to calm myself down and you're ramping me up. I don't know. I think I might have to go have a cup of tea and just settle down a bit now. But anyway, no, I don't know. I reckon you're right. It's where the team's going good. Sometimes you got to risk to succeed, and I don't know whether today's the day or maybe even tomorrow. But yeah, like I say, we never know what's going to happen on the race day. But I reckon that we're with two guys that are going pretty good, Gino and Jack. The team itself's going pretty solid. we've been sort of saying on the flat stages, gee, we hope we're going to do something in the hills. So maybe today's the day. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. We'll have a chat another day and work out what happened.
Hang on, Neil. I've worked you out, mate. I know how you're going to play this stage. You're going to send a bloke in the break up the road, and then he's going to wait at the top of that Cat 1 there, and then there hopefully isn't a bus up in the radio so you don't have to scream at the did he stop? Did he bloody stop? And then he'll just motorboat it down the descent, and you'll pull about 2 or 3 minutes, and then suddenly your ginger mate, he's going to be in the top 3.
Yeah, that'd be bloody lovely, mate. And it'd be nice to have you in the car to share that moment with me. But the thing is that after that big steep little pinch, there's a lot of lumpy stuff in the middle there, after where that green little dot is and that sort of stuff. And that's the bit of the tricky section. So yeah. So anyway, I'm not too. That's the part of the equation I'm not really sure about. But anyway, we'll work it out.
No, let's throw the book at it.
Well, I'm excited. Yeah. It's been a really interesting Vuelta. The GC battle's been pretty subdued, but the stage finishes, the breakaways have been sensational. Magnus Court been amazing. Young Michael Storer. But we are about to see that this last 9 days is super, super hard. You've got 2 days in a row now, and then later on another 2 days. I mean, it's a monster finish.
Yeah, bloody oath. It's 2 days now down. We're sort of over near Portugal, the western side of Madrid at the moment, coming up into the mountains in Madrid. But then we were going to next week up around the north of Spain, some fantastic countryside, some fantastic racing. It's epic stages, the Lagos de Covadonga and those sort of areas. And we have got some fantastic stages coming up, and I reckon the race is going to be even better. But as just a quick mention on when you say Magnus, Storer's going great, that's really good for the Aussies, but also Magnus Court, an old Green Edge boy, and the last stage he won was actually thanks to another Green Edge boy, Jens Kukler, a fantastic lead out. So we've got what is it called? Fires in the iron.
Well, we spoke to Jens and Maggie on their bus yesterday, on their way to yesterday's start, which was sensational. And they were reveling in the glory.
I must say, I was really happy with their lead out, but I was a bit pissed off because Bling didn't get his win up, because the boys, they bloody put their balls on the line and they really had a go. Bling's knocking on the door in lots of different areas. He's not quite getting it, and sometimes that creates a bit of anxiety, and then it sort of blocks you from winning even more. But you never know. One day it's got to break through with him. He's a class bike rider. He's doing a good job and he's trying his best. But I think we're all hoping and wishing that he gets that win that they so much deserve.
Well, Jens did send through a photo, Iffy, and he said, he said Magnus was tired. He wasn't lying. That was on the bus. Maggie was absolutely fried. And it's good. Like, it is funny, Neil, isn't it, when, there was so many years there when we were with Green Edge and you win a couple of stages early, what that does for the rest of the group in the team when you can crack those wins and the morale's up, makes a huge difference.
Yeah, well, I think we're only talking about. I was actually caught up with JD yesterday at the start of the stage, and we were talking about when you go out and you try to give it a go because you want to win a stage. That's one thing, but when you need to or you have to win a stage, that really sometimes blocks you up, and you make mistakes. Like, who knows? The other day, like I said, the boys from Bike Exchange did a great job, but they threw the everything at it. They went out with Luka Mezcek and they really rode the breakdown and the finish. Unfortunately, the result of that was that Bling was by himself in the finish. And so sometimes you're right, if you get a win up, like I know in our camp we've got a great team. We had a fantastic win with Caruso the other day, but second, go out and try a bit of something out of the box and give it a bit of a go. And if you win, you win. If you don't, well, it's okay because you've already got something in the bag.
Yeah. Exactly.
We've had a couple of comments. Obviously, Wendy Superfan, hi guys. Rhonda Gwyther says, great to see the Sheriff again. Samantha says, sorry to hear this, Sheriff. A day for Jack, hopefully. And Rhonda says, really love how Jack Haig is going. And Dale says, Neil, where's Froomey?
Bloody hell. Dan actually sent me a quick clip the other day. I didn't actually get to see it until this morning, and it bloody years have gone by, and I've seen it lots of times, but I still had tears rolling out my eyes. And it's just a simple comment from Mike Turner, another legend, but simple comment, a couple of laughs in the team car, just bloody unbelievable. You can't repeat that sort of stuff.
Mate, they are the moments and the days that I really miss, because like
Froomy wasn't laughing.
He didn't get it.
Got no idea what you're talking about.
Well, the other big positive.
That's the only time in a team car I've actually physically had to pull up and just clear my thoughts and get back on with the job again.
What about that day at Turkey when you needed a urine break and you stopped on that bridge? And you had 4 police with their gun drawn.
It wasn't just a bridge. That was the bridge between Asia and what was it?
Europe.
The Middle East. Europe. Yeah, bloody. It was the bridge. It was like having a leak on the Sydney Harbour Bridge, wasn't it?
Mate, that was fantastic. But the big positives, Neil, before I let you go, is the fact that you're moving up north. There's less criminal gangs, so you can leave your mate's credit card lying around, mate. You'll be fine.
I'll be right. I got my new computer. I got a bit of a dent in the old bank account, but anyway, it's all good now.
Do we need to set up some sort of GoFundMe account just to get Neil to Madrid?
No. It's actually good, buddy. I've learned my little lesson. I'm here to tell the story, so we'll be right.
Yeah.
Now, I was going to say, just give us a little insight into how Jack is going. I know today's the first big challenge for a few days, and we all are hoping he can get on the podium, and we believe he can. But how is he feeling in himself? How's he looking, his numbers?
Jesus, if you want me to give you the tactics, you want me to tell you how our leaders go? Bloody hell. As long as we just keep it within this little circle here, all right?
Yeah,
Jack's going bloody good. He had the day into Cordoba, actually the day that Magnus won, it was really hot. I think everyone really suffered with the heat. It was really hard to give them bottles, that sort of stuff, to keep their fluids up. But yesterday he had another good day. He's going really solid. He started the start of the race actually working for Landa, so he spent a bit of energy there, but he's recovered with that, and he's really cool. He's unfazed by things. He's just taking things day by day. He's sort of caught with the meat and the sandwich between the two Ineos guys and the two Movistar guys, but he's just taking it as it comes. And physically he's going good. Mentally he's pretty cool, and just waiting to see how it pans out.
Is one of the best things about the sport when you see the progression of these guys. Like, you were there in the early days when he was at Green Edge, but to see the development and to see the rider he's becoming now.
Yeah, well, the best thing about that is when these young fellas and they progress, and but then their personality doesn't change, And Jack, sometimes you talk to him and you feel like he's just that young fella that went from the mountain bikes to the under-23 program to over to us at Green Edge. But he's just the same young fella. But actually, you just have to sit back and think, actually, he's a bit of a superstar over here, and he's actually leading the team. But that's actually the beauty of the sport and the beauty of the people that we've worked with in Green Edge in their day. And it's great to see him blossom and go ahead in the way he's going now.
Great stuff, mate. Well, we wish you all the best today. We'll be cheering you on and hoping that it's a good result for you boys.
Okay, thanks, fellas. Catch up another day.
See you, Neil. Thanks, bud.
Thanks, mate. Neil, the Sheriff Stevens, what an absolute legend. We've got a massive show because we've still got plenty to come. We're going to be chatting with Dave McKenzie, who's obviously doing some great work with Matt Keenan on the SBS commentary, and obviously former pro, Giro stage winner. But we're also going to be chatting with our next guest, and that is Vaughan McVilly, who's a regular to the Detour now. How are you travelling, Vaughan?
Very well. I won't lie, I'm a little dusty today. I did get a year older yesterday, so I may have had a couple of shandies. So woke up a little dusty this morning, but no, feeling very, very good. So having a good time. How are you boys?
Yeah, pretty good, mate. No
Well,
complaints.
Well,
Yeah. One thing we're going to ask Macca later on, and he was talking about on his SBS Cycling Central podcast, is after the finish, Iffy, there was a bit of a brouhaha with Senecal and Philipson.
Mm.
So what was all that about, Johnny? Did you hear anything?
Well, there was they were disputing whether he punctured or mechanical, but he said straight out, I was nailed, and I told them to just go. I'm gone. Go without me. I just he was stuffed. So I don't know. I didn't know about this because I just think they were probably just talking about the lack of communication or whatever. Maybe he didn't hear him, but I'd be surprised that there was actually a brouhaha if people.
Sorry, I called him Philipson. I meant to say Jacobson. There's so many sons in the bloody peloton. You get them mixed up.
Philip. He is Philip. Filippo. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah. It's interesting one though because
Fabio.
Yeah.
I rewatched it last night after I saw that image. I went and rewatched the where Jacobson said no more, and he sort of looked like he bounces on the front wheel as if to say, "Is my front tire going down?" But he's also, if you look probably for the 5 or 6 seconds before that, he's looking down at his numbers on his computer, and because they were hooting, holy shit, were they flying? And it was still a long way to go. And I actually reckon he was like, I'm on the limit here, and I can't. You guys are going.
He said that. He actually said exactly that in the
right.
when I spoke to him. He said exactly that.
Yeah.
So he didn't puncture.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Whitey said that they were going to be riding for Luka Mezgec a couple of days out. What do you think of his ride, Iffy? Bit stiff.
Well, he did. Whitey, you're putting words in his mouth. Whitey never said that. You suggested that. He said we might look at it. Is what Whitey
said. Join the dots, Iffy.
And no, they didn't. I can tell you now. Mezgec was taking Matthews again. Matter of fact, just before. The last
fire up
of Mezgec, he looked to see if he's there, and he goes, "Oh, she's not there." He blew off the wheel. He was leading Matthews out, but he got lost in the split. Like a lot of people, it was a very, very tough finish. I don't think I've seen a sprint finish that's fragmented like that in the last couple of K.
Yeah. Well, like the top, obviously, all the GC riders were in the top 25. So that says something, right? Like it was absolute pandemonium for last 3 days.
Bernal was 10th in the sprint finish.
The sprint finish. They were flying.
I think you made some good points, Iffy, when you're talking to Neil about like other teams. They're going to have to try something. Like they're going to have to do something on a stage like that.
Well, they just ride like Ineos have been doing, the team I couldn't think of before. They're almost working like a team for Jumbo-Visma. I mean, you can't just keep putting pressure on. He handles that. They've got to start mixing things up, putting people up the road and making Jumbo chase and get him isolated, especially with Movistar. They've got really second and third. I mean, whether they're fourth or fifth, whatever they are at the moment, that'll all change after today. You know, the guys who are leading at the moment, Odd and Gilliam Martin, they'll slip back into the ruck a bit after today's stage. But it's a time for Lopez and Mars and also Jack Hay, these blokes to do something. And the same with Bernal and Yatesy. Hey, they've got to start doing something.
It's a cracking stage too, because that I've heard Neil say that too. Like that second climb, it is a steep, nasty SOB. Like it averages 14%. It's got like little ramps of 20%, and then as you can see on that profile, she is a pretty nasty little descent down the other side. So it's a long way from the finish line, of course, but like they could definitely fire it up, I reckon. So it's going to be. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be rip up.
How are we going with the kit designs, Vaughan? Obviously we've been pushing this pretty hard. The website, of course, is apexcustomaus.com, and your chance to design a kit for the Detour delegate. How's it all
Yeah,
been
mate, it's
going?
been going great. We're getting a few more have come through. I've just pinged a few more designs. We've got a little brother and sister have got the texters out and did some sketches, and so we've got that across to my design team at the moment. So it's actually been really quite fun because we've had people send proper design files in, and pretty much where we just give a few little final touches, and we've got other people who are actually doing full like texters and just getting out their pencils and all that sort of stuff. And then obviously we send her over to my little design team because we're all in lockdown and we're not in the same office. And the guys of my design team have been fantastic. They're having a great time with it as well.
Well, one kit that we did like, Iffy, but it was a little bit too dark. It was this pink variety because it's very on brand, but obviously we want it to be bright. And Vaughan, you've tweaked the pockets. So you can do the pink on the pockets there, Iffy. What do you think?
Well, that's your favourite. I know that you've been to it. It's got the Amy Gillick pink, which is important. Their colour. It's good. I like there was one with the spider webs. That's the one. I like that one. That stood out. Something in between. But
and then there was this one that was just full M&Ms.
M&Ms. Yeah. Someone was having a bit of a field day with that one.
13 hours to go. Yes.
Yeah.
We got some comments. Lisa says, I saw a video of the chat between Jakobsen and Senecal. Fabio definitely wasn't happy. Basically told Senecal he wasn't a lead out if he didn't look back for his sprinter. I reckon, like, if he wins the stage, just get over it. And if you are going to have those chats, just hold it into the bus. Oh, you reckon if
interesting. I didn't. Well, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, hey, if you can't hold the wheel, you can't hold the wheel. It was extreme pressure, as I said. I haven't seen them falling apart like that. Michael Matthews couldn't hold the wheel either. So a lot of good, strong bike riders couldn't. So Fabio should just go. Should just accept that. That's pretty piss poor, actually.
What do you reckon, Vaughan?
Yeah, I mean, he is in the green jersey, right?
Yeah,
sorry.
The Wolfpack's starting to eat their own.
Yeah.
He is going for the green jersey though, right? So he got the intermediate sprint earlier on in the day, and then the team worked all day, and so you don't want to be giving up any points. Even though it looks like he's got that in the bag for me, but you don't want to be giving up any points. So at the end of the day, he didn't get a single point last night. So and he's not going to get any points tonight. He probably could be a bit pissed off. But you're right, he just couldn't hold the wheel. But it was his team that were on the front, like doing most of that damage. So yeah, maybe it's an interesting one. It's a really interesting one now that we know that it was a little bit of a stoush.
Yeah, but Senecal was like not setting the pace. He was a couple of wheels back. He was doing the right thing. He just got him.
Yep.
But what had happened? Trenton had got onto his wheel, and Fabio was on Trenton's wheel. So, but I don't know what did he want him to do. It's up to him just to go past and get onto the wheel.
Yeah,
got me anyway. Whatever.
I agree.
I would have been the worst lead out guy because I'd just be attacking them all the time, mate. You know what you got to do? Sit on the wheels. Your bloody fault. Piss off. That's why I would have been. I would have been turfed.
Yeah. I was the show last night, boys, was absolutely fantastic. By the way, loved it. But how good was that lead out by EF for 2 nights ago? Wow, that was a ripper. Yeah. I was like, I felt sorry for Bling because realistically he was probably the fastest there, but they just hit him right at the right time, and they came past him like a freight train, didn't they?
He hesitated for 1 split second, which cost him.
Yep.
He needed to be aware of what's coming up and just move a fraction quicker and get straight on to Bettioli's wheel, and he would have been. Baggioli, and he would have been okay. But he waited that split second, and then he hoped Magnus could do something. But Magnus had done too much already, and he was cooked. So he had to then. By then it was back. But he showed he still had some stuff because he actually closed the gap and finished on the wheel. So he actually had enough to do that, but that just took too much out of him. Anyway.
Any
we do have Oh, sorry.
Well, just quickly,
Andy.
he says, great show tonight. Always good to hear from the Sheriff. Jay says he's having an easy day today and going all in for tomorrow's stage.
Ooh, there you
Good
go.
stuff.
Mm.
Very impressed. Very impressed with Jay.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Jay
It was
Bond,
funny how
yeah.
we talked about that the other night, and we said it would be good to see him take a few more risks and have a bit of a crack. And then next thing, kaboom! He's out there having a good old crack. That was fantastic. Pretty sure that he must have been listening to you, Iffy.
Don't pump his tires up. Just go easy on that stuff.
We did. I just thought I'd show you this one quickly. We did have a little girl in the street. She did this one for us.
Oh, nice.
There you go.
Yeah, that's good.
See that?
I like that.
Lots
That
of
is very good.
So I'll flick that over to the designers and get them to see if they can't turn that into something, and you can have a look.
Mate, fantastic.
Yeah.
I can't wait till we finally pick a winner and then, get this
Chicken
kid
dinner.
out there and get it circulated. Hey, it's that time of the show, lads. We'll have a quick drinks break. And then when we get back on the other side, we're going to have Dave McKenzie join us as well to unpack everything that's been happening at the Vuelta.
Look at this bike. You think it's just a bike, right? But it's not. It's a bike. 374 people are looking at. This guy, this girl, them, all looking at it. People from here, there, and wherever this is. People that are looking for a bike. Or just a piece of it. Amateurs, semi-amateurs, and pro-amateurs. This guy wants this bike, but with this crank and these bars. This could be the perfect match, but not this one. This girl has a bike to sell, and thousands of people might purchase it. Eyes on Bikes help grow small businesses. His, hers, yours, and the latest data and insights help those businesses keep moving. We are the world's #1 bike marketplace, with over 500,000 products and 900 brands, where buyers and sellers are brought together in a place where a bike is never just a bike. Bike Exchange, where the world buys, sells, learns, and rides.
Life is like a two-way street. It's about consideration and mutual respect. Roads are much the same. However you get around, walk, ride or drive, if we share our roads, we can all be safer. The Amy Gillett Foundation is Australia's peak cycling safety charity. Our mission is for safe cycling in Australia. Our vision is for zero cyclist deaths. Over the last year, we've seen an enormous increase in people taking up cycling, whether it be for recreation, with the family, commuting, or even to start your own cycling career. We need to do more to make it safer for every cyclist. 20 cyclists every day are hospitalised, and 1 cyclist is killed every 10 days on Australian roads. So, the next time you jump on your bike or hop in your car, remember to practice the 4 C's. Be courteous, calm, considerate, and conscientious. Every cyclist death is preventable, and we all deserve to get home safely. Please donate to help the Amy Gillett Foundation make the roads safer for you and for me.
Great stuff. Thanks again, Bike Exchange, and those messages there from the Amy Gillett Foundation. Now, as we said, we're going to be joined live by former pro and SBS commentator and the Zwift Cycling Central podcast host. That, of course, is Dave McKenzie, who joins us now. Mako, welcome back to the Detour, mate.
Hi, guys. I am good to be here. Good to see you all. Hey, now, Jonesy, mate,
Yes.
big apologies. I said I'd join you a few days ago. And, mate, you know when you do those, you've got to do those 1-minute pieces to camera. Mate, I haven't learned. I haven't improved much because the 1 minute turned into about an hour. And, as you know, I had to bail on you. So good to finally be here.
That's fine, mate. And we're always willing to wait for good talent here on the Detour.
Stuff.
How has the Tour of Spain been for you so far? You've obviously been doing some great work with Matty Keenan on the commentary.
Yeah, cheers. No, it's been, look, I think as we all know, you can argue that it's the best Grand Tour of the year. You know, we sort of always say the Giro is brilliant, the Tour is the Tour. But Keno said to me the other night, he said, gee, imagine if the Vuelta was the hype of the Tour. It was the biggest Grand Tour. Everyone would be jumping up and down about the stages that we've had. But because it's the Vuelta and it doesn't have the the publicity that the Tour de France gets, or the Giro to a lesser extent. You know, you don't. Not everyone hears about it, but it's been brilliant. I think the racing's been exceptional. Last night was the only, if we can say, quasi-boring stage until the last 3 kilometres.
Mm. Well, they do call it the Tour de France with a hangover, the old Vuelta.
Yes.
What were you going to say, Evie?
I was going to say, yeah, Macca, you did right. It got a bit interesting in the middle sections when everyone thought the wind was going to do more, I think, but it split. And for at one stage there were some good bike riders who didn't look like they were going to get back on, but suddenly the Movistar guys went at the front, started handing biddens out, and they eased the pace up, which is a strange way of doing it. But I was going to say the finale, that is as strenuous a finale as I've seen, in that the speed was just so high. I don't think I've seen a bunch fragment as much as that in the final couple of Ks.
No, you're right. And I'm sure you guys have listened to some of the post-stage interviews, but I've got a question for all of you. Did you see the interaction between Jakobsen and Seneschal post-stage?
It's funny you mention that because we saw the promo. We saw the promo for SBS Cycling Central podcast, and I thought, geez, hang on, what are they talking about here? And that's
we're just talking about it. Yeah.
What actually happened?
Well, the audio was hard. It was hard to pick up every single word. But you can see Seneschal shrugging the shoulders, saying, "Well, mate, if you went on the wheel, you went on the wheel." Jakobsen said, "Well done, but..." Now, as soon as you say "but," and it wasn't, he wasn't gracious, Jakobsen.
No,
you know, we all know his journey, and it's a fantastic story. But the honeymoon of Jakobsen's comeback is now complete. He has said that himself, and I thought he could have been a bit more gracious. And he needs to accept that he actually wasn't going well enough to follow the wheel, and Seneschal improvised and finished off the job. At the end of the day, it's all about teamwork, isn't it?
Exactly. And it was fantastic. It was his first pro win, not just Grand Tour stage win, his first pro win. So he's always in the, at the service of everyone. He's a sensational man. But you know what I reckon it is? It's exactly the same as Cav. Honeymoon period, all lovey-dovey. Then, bang, they crack under the pressure. Cav with the mechanic and Fabio with that. It's a shame, really, because you just be gracious. You know, your mate's won. You cracked under the pressure. He couldn't hold the wheel, for crying out loud.
And and the thing is, you can't. We said it in our podcast. You can't. At 3 kilometres to go, it would have been worse if they'd waited for Jakobsen, because at 3 kilometres to go, De Koenig actually did a brilliant job by offloading, get rid of guys like Matthews, Mezgets, all these sort of quasi sprinters. On a perfect day, maybe could challenge. They got rid of him, so they had to keep going. They couldn't stop.
Couple more comments. Jark says, "Macca, is Christoph as annoying as he sounds? Just kidding. Loving the SBS Cycling podcast. You've got great chemistry, you and Christoph."
Look, you guys have got to know him a bit over the years. He's a gem, and I think as a sport, we're really lucky to have people like Christoph fall in love with cycling. He fell in love with cycling in France, of course, growing up as a kid. But to fall in love with cycling and to be having some input in the media in Australia, I think is great.
We've got another comment from Warren Wood, says, "Your commentary has been outstanding, Macca, and the racing has been thrilling. Not a boring stage yet." Vaughan.
Yeah, I was just going to agree with you, Macca, about I've got a lot of. I'm in Sydney, living in Sydney now. I've got a lot of cycling mates, and I've been, every stage. "Oh, did you watch it last night? Oh, did you watch it last night?" Nah. What do you think needs to happen? Like, this year's Vuelta has been unbelievable. And just going on your comment before about, we get such good coverage. It's gone up 1,000,000 miles. I remember I used to have to wait in the mail and get the VHS tape before I could watch it, which was about 4 months after bike races even happened. What needs to happen, do you think, to get to state races like the Vuelta back, into the public's eye?
Well, yeah, it's a good question. And I guess I'm sort of allowed to say this because it is public knowledge. The ratings, I can tell you firsthand, the ratings for SBS have been through the roof. They've been the best ratings we've had ever for the Vuelta coverage. SBS has had the Vuelta for a long time now because, as you guys know, it's part of ASO suite of events, so the people who own the Tour de France. So from SBS's perspective, the ratings are through the roof, but they're still nowhere near the Tour de France. And, I think we all know the Giro, the Tour, any other bike race will never get to the ratings of the Tour de France. But I think it's a slow burn. I think it's getting there. And, I think we can all agree it's still a lot further advanced than what it was 10 years ago. So we're going in the right direction, I think, which is the important thing.
Is it the fact that it's a bit later? Like most nights you start at 11, and occasionally you get I know you say this, but when you get there earlier, you get it. But the 9 o'clock, when it starts at 9, you get more interest from the people. They'll stay on. They'll be more involved. But 11 o'clock to start is quite late.
Well, I think lockdowns have probably helped the ratings up just a little bit.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Keep them going, I reckon. Keep them going.
That's it.
I've got to get to my office straight out of bed. I'm in my office. Oh, good.
I've got one that Christoph. I absolutely love him. I think he's a fantastic character. And
Don't
passionate.
say but.
Yeah, don't say but.
Yeah.
No but here. No but.
Good.
He has actually turned me around on one aspect of the Tour de France and the Grand Tours. I've started to have more appreciation for the King of the Mountains jersey.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. I know.
And he keeps pointing things out, and because I've never rated it anywhere near the green jersey, because normally the top EGC riders aren't competing for it. But I've got a new. He kept pointing things out about it, and now he's twisted. He turned me around.
But then the problem with that, guys, is, and feel free to disagree. The problem we've got in Australia with that is all of our sort of good climbers are also going to be guys that challenge for GC, so they'll never go for the polka dot jersey because they've got that bigger prize in mind. Yeah.
Well, remember when Daniel Tekla-Heimanot took it for a couple of days, what was that, 2015, 2016? And he got a ticker tape parade in Eritrea when he got back. Like, there was 1 million people on the side of the roads, and he had it for 3 days. It was unbelievable.
And every day, sorry, I was just going to say, every day at the stage start, there was a posse of Eritrean fans.
Oh, yeah.
And they were beating drums. They were doing song and dance outside the bus 2 hours before the stage start every single day.
Yes.
But Simon Clark won the KOM in the Vuelta just a few years back for Green Edge.
And Matty Lloyd.
We have done it. Matty Lloyd, exactly.
Yeah, and on
he came home to Melbourne and got hit by a tram.
So the Simon Clark story, I was there. That was 2012. He had the jersey, and Neil said to him, good on you, mate. You can have it for a couple of days, but we won't be defending it, and wish you all the best. And he was like, didn't really believe it. Then when he won it, he's like, bloody sensational job, mate. Never doubted you. That was bloody glad we got behind you, mate. And then Neil back then, he used to get real pissed off at little stuff, and it was hilarious to watch. And I remember this one day he did this team meeting, and Alan Davis was off getting a haircut, and he's called it with half an hour to go. So everyone's scrambling. Hey, where's Alan Davis? Oh, I don't know, mate. He's off getting a haircut. And then you see that vein filling. He looks at Clark. He looks at Clarky. He won a stage the day before. He goes, he's taking pot shots. Everyone goes, Clarky, you won a stage. Good on you, mate. Some people, not me, some people might have said you got a bit lucky. But I tell you, he goes, I tell you what, the sign of a good bike rider is someone who can win a stage of the last week. That's it. And then I said, Neil, when did you win your stage? Last week. So it's just revving him up. And so I used to love saying to Simon Clark, great stage win, mate. But some people said you're a bit lucky.
Would you stand in the back of those meetings, Jonesy, and just niggle? Just do little stats.
All the time, mate. All the time. That was part of my job. I used to love it. But you're right. I mean, it should be a lot more prestigious than what it is. And good off Christoph for driving the passion behind the polka dot. It's a great thing. Rod?
Another race that probably should be up there is Ron van Drenthe, maybe like in 2004, Macca.
There you go. The one with the cobbles. That's the one with the cobbles, yeah?
Yeah. Second to Decker, weren't you, that year?
Where did you pull that one out of the archives from?
Hey. Oh, all stored up here.
It wasn't coming from the top level here.
Yeah. No. Down in the trenches. That's my only claim to being able to ride pavé, Vaughan.
Can you tell us, give me a bit of love there. Can you tell us the story of that race? Because I have seen a little bit of footage of it, but obviously I remember that Decker won by about 19 seconds, and you were in a 3-up sprint, I think, for second place, weren't you?
Well, yeah. No. It's a nice little story because I remember, I think it was on a Saturday or a Sunday, and on the Wednesday was Ghent Wevelgem. And so I got my head kicked in Ghent Wevelgem, just literally outclassed, pulled out sort of halfway through the race, all depressed. And we went to this Ronde van Drenthe, which had, I think, about 12 or 15 sectors of pavé. But it wasn't pavé like Paris-Roubaix, of course. It was a lot smoother. But it was bricks through sort of in the Dutch sort of forest area. And the night before, I was riding for an American team, and the night before, like, I was really, really down and out. And the head director sport, who was basically the boss of the team, Ed Beeman, said, "Mate, come on, Macca. Come on, we'll go to the bar and I'll buy you a beer." And I think we had a pint each, and then we shared a bottle of red. And I went to bed, just with not a care in the world, slept like a baby. And the next morning I got up and just fired on all cylinders, and I just finished the race. And Decker, there was about 5 or 6 of us left, and there were 3 Dutchies in the group, and I reckon he paid out the other 2 Dutchies. Otherwise, I reckon I might have had him on toast. And I was going that well. It was crazy. And so I got second. And the director said, Ed Beeman said to me, "Jeepers, mate, let's do that more often." That was a treat.
Well, that's why if he was so successful, mate, that was lit by it.
Yeah, exactly. I only got away with that once or twice. The John Trevorrows of the world and the Stuart O'Grady's, multiple.
For sure.
Thanks, mate. Sorry, that's got nothing to do with the Vuelta, but I just wanted to hear that story. Cheers.
Good one.
Hey, sorry, mate.
Go, mate. No, go.
No, you sound excited. Every time you give the it's going to be a good question.
No, I was just going to go back to last night's stage, which I keep thinking back to, because that last 4 or 5K was just on with the roundabouts and just the speed they were doing. But with about 500 metres to go, after Fabio had cracked, and you had that little group, I reckon, what money would you put on Trentin? You would have. I just could not see him losing. I thought, he's got this. They've just carded him like they were leading him out. He used to be a part of the Wolf Pack. He won a lot of races for them, and it was like they were leading him out. I thought, this is done and dusted. But he couldn't get there.
No, I'd be lying if I said I didn't think he was the one. But we know Seneschal, that like the last lead-out man, is fast in their own right on any team. So I thought, if Seneschal can get taken to 200 to go, he'll be a hard guy to beat. And it was when the Yelperson Phoenix rider jumped over him, that helped him. I think that saved him, actually. Yeah, if the Yelperson guy didn't jump over him, he might not have won it.
Exactly.
I've got a couple of more comments. Carolyn says, I watch SBS On Demand, so I don't have to wait till 11 p.m. in WA for the coverage to start. Done and dusted by midnight, loving the commentary. Macca.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Carolyn.
Annette Miller says, preferred when cycling was on SBS and Eurosport. I now have a subscription to GCN Plus, but this year Flowbike's entry into Australia has made watching more difficult. Cycling coverage is too dispersed. That does raise an interesting point, because there are so many different options now to watch cycling, whereas the old school way, it was just like, it's SBS and that's it. Whereas now there's all these devices and all this sort of stuff. Do you think, that is obviously the way it's going, Macca, but does it sort of dilute things a bit at times as well?
There's only one option, guys. Come on.
That's it.
Like, it's SBS. No, I mean, it's healthy for the market. Yeah. whether I like it or not, and you guys know I'm not an employee. I'm a contractor. But 90% of my work is with SBS. So I am very loyal, and they're loyal to me. So I'm not going to ever jump anywhere else really. But I still think it's healthy competition. SBS, we have all of the rights in Australia for the Tour de France. I don't think anyone else can show anything. No. And I'm not sure. I think the Giro. Did GCN have the Giro in Australia as well, or maybe not?
Yeah, you could watch both.
Maybe. I think they had the stream. So they have a streaming, because what people don't understand necessarily is that when the rights are sold off, sometimes they split up the digital aspect to the broadcast aspect, and I think that's what the Giro did. They probably sold off the stream rights to GCN, and obviously SBS got the broadcast back this year. So whereas the Tour, ASO effectively, and SBS I think demanded by everything, the digital, the broadcast, everything, the whole lot. The only thing networks can show, I think, is about 15 to 20 seconds on a news package in their nightly news. That's it.
The only reason I know both were being shown for the Giro is that stage. Remember when the cameras weren't working? It was just the finish line. And I'm watching it and I'm thinking, oh, geez, Keenan, this is poor bastard. Like, what do you talk about? So I was listening to the GCN commentary, and if they were giving me any nuggets, I was feeding them to Keenan and he could rehash it on SBS.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
That must be the toughest part of the commentary gig is like, when you've got those long, like you've just come through all the desert and, if the break's gone away and things aren't really happening. I mean, how much, when you prepare for each of your stage, do you have sort of notes or stories ready to go so you can go to it almost like the kit bag?
Yeah, I mean, you guys know Keno is such a pro. He's got so much in-depth knowledge, and for me, I try and keep what I talk about to analytical stuff because that's really in theory my expertise. I'm a former rider, so I sort of still like to think I know what it's like in the bunch, and then I do like talking about the cultural side. I leave all the castles and all that to Keno. But if there's any other little nuggets from the region, I try and do some research on the region, whether it be food or just some little anecdotal stories that are left of mainstream. And then we got through last night, for example. We took the headset off, looked at each other, and said, actually, that wasn't too bad for a long stage through a desert. Not much happened until 10 kilometres to go. It seemed to go fairly quick for us.
We've got a few more comments pouring in. Free Ranger, Fritz and beer at the BBC, the Belgian Bay Classic.
Oh, yeah, so, we'll work on that.
Yeah. Gary Tilley said, Macca, maybe you needed a dart as well. This is the night before the stage. Wendy Superfan, will SBS be showing all the classics next year, Macca?
Yes, I believe so. I think we've got most of them now. I think we've nearly got all of them, in fact. With the Giro, we get back Milan-San Remo. We get the Italian races, most of the Italian races. And then the Tour-owned Paris-Roubaix, of course, Liège. We've got Flanders. So we've got most of them. Yeah, we've got most of them, Wendy.
Yep. Sally says, long live free-to-air broadcast. SBS do a brilliant job and allow for so many people to watch without having to dip into the back pocket. That's a good point as well, Johnny.
Exactly. Now, I just want to say, I believe everyone should just support SBS. They've been delivering to us international racing for, a long while. I think it was 19. And we started, what year? 1990 roundabout. They started covering the Tour de France.
Yeah.
I think 2005 is when you went live every day. But
2007.
2007 was it?
2007, I believe, because that was my first year. And before that, we were doing sort of 4 stages.
No, 2005. No, definitely 2005. Because that's how Dan. That's how he made the detour.
That's how I got a gig. Really? I went from making wedding videos to doing stuff for SBS at the Tour de France, and I stuffed up the first day, and I didn't know how to shoot for TV. I did wedding videos, and even they were shit. And I was doing these wide shots, and if he was there was cables, and I handed it in to Mike Tomalaris. I was like, yeah, it's a good job, huh? And he looked at it and he said to me, he goes, mate, have you ever worked with TV before? I said, no.
It's a shit
And
house.
he's just like, oh, no. Starting to get Honey.
I've
the
done a couple of
camera
21sts and bar
Yeah.
mitzvahs and
And Honey watched the footage and had to basically train me at the Tour de France on how to shoot for TV.
But
then
that's
after
how
it was like,
that's how I know the answer to that, because I had a call from Mike Tomalaris about 2 weeks before the tour, because Dan had been at me about doing this, making this doco, because I'd taken his
want a
dad
job.
to do it 2 years
want a
before.
job.
And I said, I'll see what I can do, knowing there's no way that he would get permission to make this doco. Anyway, Mike Tomalaris rang me about something. I said, look, congratulations, mate, live every day. He said, oh, if only we had enough budget for another crew, it was going to be travel drop, I'll get the stuff. I said, listen, I've got this young bloke who wants to make a documentary, and if you give him the permission, he'll shoot the starts for you. He said, really? Has he got a beta such and such camera?
Did you better, Cam?
you said, yep.
So, yeah. He said, give me his number. So I'll flick it to you. So I hung up. I rang Dan. I said, Dan, have you got a beta, whatever? He said, piss off. That's bloody 85 grand, mate. I said, well, you better find out how much to rent one. You could be coming to the Tour de France. And that's how it happened.
And I didn't know how to use the camera. I remember arriving in Paris at the airport going, geez, I better switch this bloody thing on and find out how the buttons work. I had no idea.
So I'm trying to remember, Jonesy. How did you and John meet?
My dad, went on the tour in 2004 tour, brought back all this home video footage. I thought, who's this maniac? And that's Iffy, like, he's out on the jogs and having a great time. And I thought, I want in on that. As a 22-year-old, you're like, I'll do whatever it takes. And that's how
it all began.
That's how it starts. He sucks most of us in, actually. He's got a knack of doing that.
He does. Hey, one thing we wanted to talk about on this show, and you might have some good insights as well, Backer, is like lockdown. You know, a lot of people in Australia are really struggling with the lockdown. And what we wanted to do is really get across that, you know, we're not just the Detour family, we're the cycling family. And we want to support people and give people tips and advice on ways that they can best deal with this lockdown, because it will eventually end, but we're still in the sort of bits of it. What things do you do, Macca, to help yourself, particularly with things like mental health in lockdown?
Yeah, no, it's a good subject, and it is nice. We should talk about it, I suppose. I'm no expert, and I guess the four of us aren't, but I always just think keep busy. And look, I've been really lucky. So I'm talking from a first world problem perspective. I've kept most of my work. Ride your bike. I go for a 5K bike ride. I do. I've been riding into work each night and back. So I've been riding back and forth twice. I mean, we all know any form of exercise, walking, just getting outside, just doing something is so good for you. So I always say that. I always feel $1 million better. And not even riding my bike. For me, the bike is part of my life, but just some form of exercise, half an hour a day, just keeps your body going.
100%. Macca,
I had my birthday yesterday, and I've just had probably the best birthday. Thanks, mate. But I've probably just had the best birthday I've had in a long, long time. My partner Sammy kicked things off on Friday night with the kids, and we had a bit of a party because obviously we're in lockdown. But then yesterday we went out and had an amazing ride around Sydney in the sunshine, and then last night we had a Zoom dinner. So she'd organised all of my friends to jump on a Zoom call, and we had a Zoom dinner. And we've been doing a lot of that sort of stuff, which I think is quite fun. We did a Zoom wine tasting where a restaurant, One Penny Red, big shout out to Murph, he sent hampers out to about 40 different houses, and in the hamper there was all of your food for the night, and a few little bottles of wine, and then they had the actual winemaker on the Zoom call. And so that sort of stuff I think's really, really good. And I think there are a lot of things you can be doing to keep up the talking, because you do go a little bit stir crazy, obviously, when you're in your house. So and another friend of mine, she did a cocktail making course at home, same deal. They sent out. There's lots of people are going outside, thinking outside the box with that sort of stuff. So that's one of the things I'd definitely suggest.
What do you do, Iffy?
Well, look, I think it's important. I got a really nice call a couple of days ago from someone. I don't know. He got my number off. He Googled me and got my number, and he just said, "Look, I've got to tell you, John, I've never met you, but thanks for the detour, because I've been really struggling, but the detour has helped get me through these tough times, which was really nice to hear. And that's why I mentioned to Dan. And I just think a lot of it, because some people in lockdown, they're not communicating like they normally would. They're not going to work, they're working from home. So you've got to be talking to people. So I messaged Dan. We're going to start the detour lockdown blues. So if anyone wants to contact Dan or me, just hit me on the cycling
email. I'll give him your one because that's what we're doing the bid with. John at cyclingevents.com.au. Matt
and just
dropped off.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, mate.
And just email there with your number. We'll give you a call, have a yap. We're just too happy. We are all part of the cycling family. We call them the detour degenerates. But we're happy just to have a yap because it's a tough time for everyone.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more, Macca, because for me, like the last 12 months, been quite difficult, getting in routine and so forth. And I just started because when you're sort of going through a bit crossroad times in your life, as blokes, we naturally want to do one thing, go down to the pub, have a heap of schooners and just drown it. And when we're in the lockdown, it's like we couldn't. We had to exercise. So I'm saying to my mate around the corner, I go, what am I going to do? And he goes, shit, mate, all we can do is go for a walk. Oh, well, that'll have to do. So when we first started, my mate was 115 kilos, right? And now he's 84. And when we started, he had busted knees, couldn't walk really properly. And we get to Caulfield Park, and we used to call it the boneyard because it was bone on bone. We used to rip the piss out of each other. And we had a thing called Vent Bend. We're coming up to Vent Bend, and for 5 seconds you'd be able to chat, and then all of a sudden you go, and then get back to your conversation again. But the process of walking and talking every single day, and we got addicted to it because at the start it's hard, but you focus on the chat. And the chat is all about a process. And we were uncovering stuff. We're going, hang on. This is like, we're finding these in psychology books. And it's about like, focus on the stuff that you can control. The stuff you can't control, let it go. So we come up with this thing called mental cricket. And it is, you're the batsman. You can't control what the delivery is getting thrown at you. So if people are throwing a spicy email or people are annoying you at work, your bloody kids are giving you the shits, that's like copping a delivery. And sometimes they're sharp. They're up around your throat. You cop one, you get a busted rib or whatever. But with me, I've got a mate that I talk to every day, and it's like having a batsman up the other end. And he's there going, mate, hey, calm down. You don't have to play at everything. That's the other thing. When you talk to emotional guy and logical guy. Emotional guy, he is a bastard because he gets in your head and he's like, you got to reply there. Start listening to the logical guy. So you don't have to slash at everything. Just let him go. Protect your wicket. You're still at the crease. And just flick. Sometimes you get a spicy text. Just flick it off your pads. Don't respond. Just bloody let it go. Easy single.
Yeah, don't be sucked into the wide ones, go for the big whack because you'll get caught in slips.
No. Yeah. And when you have a shocking day, I'll be ringing my mate and he'll be going, oh, geez, mate, you have copped a 10-over spell with a new ball and it's just been at your absolute rib cage. You've split a box and, all this stuff. But the diversional therapy, like, mindfulness, like when you wake up in the morning, the best thing I can pass on is when you wake up in the morning, self-awareness is key. So check in with yourself. That's key. We don't do that. And we have a routine where naturally in our life, we don't put ourselves as number one. You got your family, your kids, and you get bumped down about 3 or 4. Change that. You're not being selfish. Put yourself number one. And that's this relationship you're going to have with yourself. And that starts with checking in every day. How am I feeling? If you're feeling, no good or a 2 out of 10, put your shoes on, go for a walk, listen to a podcast, ring a mate, do whatever, because I guarantee you're going to move the needle the other way. You'll guarantee move it to a 2.5, a 3 or a 4, but it'll be in the right way. When you come back, take a deep breath, appreciate that, hey, that I appreciate that. It's good. Got stuff off my chest because it's like packing boxes. I once met this guy, Michael Ware, right, when I was with catch up with Whitey, he was a mate of his. He did 4 tours of Iraq as a journalist, right? And he said this statement, I could tell at the time he was pretty cooked. And he said to me, he goes, listen, I saw so much stuff that I had all these mental boxes that I just didn't want to deal with. Didn't want to unpack them. He goes, only now am I unpacking those boxes. That's so true for many of us. We go through stuff and we don't want to deal with it because it's easy. We like being comfortable, so we shelve it. You've got to start going through the process of unpacking these boxes, talking about stuff, getting it off your chest. It's not fun. It's not a fun process. But what it is like your mental highway. You're not patching them up with potholes. You're going to relay the entire road. And the more you do that, the more you're not going to be like this your whole life. You're going to sort of level out and you're going to be able to deal with all this. But all we want to say to everyone out there is what we want you to do, share your story with us and we will share it on the show. So if you go out for a walk and you have a great experience on that walk and you've chatted to your mate, use the hashtag Detour Podcast and we will share these stories. We'll say, hey, have a look at such and such's boneyard or his park. Hey, such and such went on a ride today. Fantastic. If you've got any tips or pointers, let's start sharing it because the more we share, the more we connect. Isolation is the worst thing. When you feel isolated and you think, I'm the only person going through this, terrible. We're all going through some layer of shit. It's just the depth that is varied.
Yeah. No. Well, you're spot on, Jonesy. You've nailed it. There's, and I'm not trying to make fun of this at all, but that bit about the unpacking and there's that road ahead of you and it's got potholes. JT got to that road with potholes, and instead of unpacking, he just went, well, why would I ride my road bike down there? I'll just grab a mountain bike and keep going. It's fine.
Exactly.
Seriously, you are bulletproof, John, aren't you?
Oh, yeah.
And how are you bulletproof? It's sort of a serious question because I've known you a long time. You've had some ups and downs in your life and family life, etc. But I remember you hit a point, John. This is how I remember. You were running a lot of bike races, and I remember you were really stressed at what used to be called the Mount Buller Cup one year, and everything was going wrong. Nothing was working, and I think Steve-O's part of this story. And that you got through that year, and then the following year and the years that followed, you were still race promoting. The stress disappeared, and I always wondered how you sort of came to deal with it because the stresses were the same, or the same things were getting thrown at you, and then you just seemed to push it away. You just seemed to deal with it. How did you do it?
Gee, you take me back quite a while. That's a long while ago, Mac. Yeah, that's very true. And I remember the year you're talking about. I remember Dave Sanders grabbing hold of me and saying,
"Yes,
I've never seen you stressed before," because I used to create stress, not actually suffer with it myself. But that year, yeah, there was just it was we had the Dave. Onsay team here. We had Stuart Grady and his French team here as well. And it was sensational. It was sort of the first time anyone had done all of this. And I was running Mount Buller Cup to Tassie and all of these events. And I didn't have a big enough crew around me. I was trying to do too much myself. And I realised at the end of that, I've got to offload some of this and get some good people around me, which is what I did, because in the end, I'm not the most organised person of all time, and so I had to get some organised people around me, and that was great for a couple of years. But then they got sick of me and left to put me back in the same place. But anyway, I got through all of that.
And you've got to have a laugh. That's key as well. You've got to have a laugh. That is key.
You got to keep laughing. You got to, one other small thing I've been doing in these, I do it anyway, just for fun. I get on YouTube in the evenings and just watch stand-up comedians. And I think a lot in this day and age, we don't laugh enough. People take themselves too seriously, and I don't think any of us should ever take ourselves too seriously, because as Ricky Gervais has said, we're all going to die one day. We're all going to die soon, and there's no sequel.
Exactly right.
It's true.
Well, you can pre-long it,
absolutely.
I nearly fell off the edge a few years back, but I sort of got going. I'm good.
A good little tip that I learned and have used personally myself is, the first screens that we should look at is a mirror and talking to yourself, and doing a daily diary is a really, really good way to try and get yourself and map yourself and start navigating yourself into a more mindful and positive outlook on life. A little bit to what you said before, Dan, about waking up, seeing how you're feeling. If you're only two, go out for a walk, go out for a ride. Excuse me. One of the things that I used to do is, and still do a little bit, is like actually do a video diary. So I get my phone out and actually talk to myself for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, talk about the day, talk about the day before, and also then, start to look at things that might come up on that day that might, be a bit tough. And so by then, I guess, working out what those things might be that are going to be hard during your day, you can know they go, okay, when that happens, I'm going to stop, I'm going to take a few deep breaths, and then I'm going to move on with my day. And then, do that little video diary, and then, when if you're driving to work or watch it back about half an hour later. And it's just for yourself, it's for nobody else, but it gives you, then really, you can start to really map out and navigate through the tougher times, and also start to think, well, just like you were saying with the cricket stuff, there's stuff I need to worry about, and there's stuff that I don't need to worry about, and I need to let that one go through to the keeper. And the other thing the other probably good thing is if you've got a dog.
Very
this
nice.
is Gilly. So named after my old man, Graham McVilly. This is Gilly of the Border Collie. So taking her out for a walk and is pretty amazing. She was born on the day my dad passed away. So so that's how she got a name. But yeah, so get to take her out for runs and walks and stuff is also a really good way to just get outside, keep the mind ticking over, and being grateful for the things that are that you have got.
We've got a number of comments that have come in. Tom Maloney says, lockdown is an opportunity to go forward with new ideas. We should grab it with both hands. Cycling is doing both recreationally and European racing. Celebrate it. Free Ranger says, great job.
Well done.
Many of us are struggling at the minute. Sally says, all of us here look forward to 6:30 p.m. as it gives us an hour of hanging with friends we've never met and meeting really interesting people. Good on you, Sally. Tom also says, the cycling family is my biggest family. I must know thousands of cyclists from all disciplines. Whatever I know as a cyclist does it. It's an enormous resource. Free Range also says, I was in a dark place and walking the Camino helped turn my life around. A lot of people say that. A lot of people do the Camino walk.
I've got a good friend who was going through a bit of a tough time, and he actually did the Camino, Dan, when Susan and I were living in Italy, and turned his life around, and he's been back, I think, 3 times since. Yeah, it's insane.
Really?
So
that's awesome.
Amazing.
Wendy Superfan, getting out in the fresh air away from the 4 walls is the best thing. Leon says, gotta love getting batting tips on a cycling podcast.
Well, Dan can't give you cycling tips. He can only
that's right. I'll give you cricket tips. Now, David says, Michael West's story is unbelievable. Good on you, boys. Yeah, he is. He did a documentary about his experiences over there in Iraq. Tom, you're the man, Dan. I can see how much support you guys. I can't stop my comments. Good on you, mate. Andy says, I assume that the 5 kilometre rule is why I've not seen Vaughan in Centennial Park for a while.
That's true.
Agree with Macca in how good it is just to get out for a walk and ride every day.
Yeah.
And then Warren Wood says, more from the dog, please.
And see what you just created. See the people that have just commented on all of that, which just shows that there are people. We're all having our little moments, and we'd all be lying, I think, if we say, oh, no, I'm bulletproof, life is fine, everything's good. I think I was going to get you around to our new pad, Jonesy, for dinner.
I know.
So what I'm going to do, I'm going to move ahead with booking you in. So how does 2024, are you free in 2024?
I'll have to run that by the other Dan Andrews.
well, that's, I'm going to look, don't worry, I'll run it by him for both of us. And but I think 2024, we should be safe.
At this stage,
you'll be perfectly in Spain by then, Macca.
Yeah,
you won't even be here anymore. What are you talking about?
100%.
How is the Spanish mansion going?
It's more and more people are finding out about this because it's come up in the commentary. You know what? Matt White's lovely wife, Jane, is wandering past it, I think, once a week and just checking that there's no squatters. And so far, it's all in one piece.
I love the fact that we won't go into too much detail, but Macca and Susan bought this place in Spain. Didn't even know that it was in the same town as where Whitey and Jane live.
True story.
A few hundred metres away. So how fortunate that's been for you.
Yeah.
Dale Simon says, love the passion with mental health, Jones. Your new career as a mental mechanic. It is definitely a passion. We're not far off launching fingers crossed, a new series that I can update people, if it does get up. But it is based around trying to help with isolation. So I think when you go through stuff yourself and you can come out the other side with a clearer focus, you just want to share those tips. And there's a lot in the old Boneyard toolkit. So when the time's right, 100%. Mate, it's been awesome. What were we going to say, Vaughn?
Oh, just one thing with the Mental Wheels Foundation, they've just launched the 6-minute challenge. So you should go and check that out. Basically, the 6-minute challenge is get up every day and do 6 minutes worth of step-ups every day and tell 6 of your mates to do the same thing. And that's the little campaign that they're running at the moment through the Mental Wheels Foundation. We've had so many tours that we've had to cancel because we're in lockdown. We've resorted to, and in Sydney, obviously, you can only ride in groups of 2. So we've resorted to doing step-ups to get people. But, yeah, the 6-minute challenge, you should check that out as well.
Yeah, it's a great idea. And as we said, share your stories. Let's get around it. We will post these at the end of the show every night. # Detour Podcast, and that's on Instagram, Twitter, whatever. But we will get around it. So there's going to be plenty of great tips moving forward. Hey, Vaughn, Macca, awesome to have you on the show, guys. Keep up the great work, Macca, with the commentary. And Vaughn, look forward to getting more updates with the Apex Customs Detour competition, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Some exciting jerseys.
Thanks, legends.
Good on you,
Good
fellas.
to see you guys. Nice to see you all. Yeah, stay well.
See you, boys. It's a great chat.
Now we'll put off till tomorrow. We were going to talk about the CIMAC Ladies Tour of Holland, where there was an enormous crash. But
I do have the video. We can.
Yeah,
we
but
can
I think
we'll do it properly.
We'll do it properly because a few of the Australian girls went down.
Yep.
They ended up finishing, but it was a huge crash, and the race finishes tomorrow night. But it warrants more than 2 minutes we give it now. So I think we'll save that till tomorrow night.
You do have your script, the silent
I do.
The loudest silent auction, they've called it. The Miller Resorts. Obviously, we've mentioned it every night on the show, but that's a silent auction for 5 nights on a waterfront villa resort for 2 people and 2 children, with breakfast and dinner included. And I can tell you now, if you're the winning bidder, Jason and the team at Miller will definitely look after you. If you got your script ready to go, mate?
I have, mate. I have. Discover a tropical playground of powdered sugar sand, lush jungle, and crystalline waters. Amila Maldives luxury resort reeks of timeless style and endless bliss. Stand by for unexpected treats and indulgences. Delighting and surprising you is their hallmark. Amila's motto is to exceed your expectations. The sky is the limit.
Oh, you timed it perfect. And where are we at with the silent auction bid?
I'm not going to tell you because it's silent. Oh, no, I can't tell you. All right. It's 5,250.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we've got over the 5K. So we're getting into the area where I thought it would go for. I thought it would go for around about the 6.5. So we're up 5,250. And one of our detour regulars has put that in. And if
you do want to have a bid, john@cyclingevents.com.au. Put in your price. Now, before we wrap up the show, I want to show the video from Phil Liggett, because it is all to raise money for the Kareka Foundation. They're doing fantastic work. And you can join Phil's Peloton. And here's a quick little promo for that.
Hi everyone, it's Phil Liggett here, and it's time to get my African safari on the road again. We're heading back to the Kareka Game Reserve in the Eastern Cape of South Africa, where animals, including the rhino, roam freely. We did 4 great rides in June, and now, with 2 new ones, we're set to go again. There will be eminent guests to answer your questions on the wildlife and also offer an opportunity to win amazing trips to Kareka. We'll chat to one another, and you don't even have to ride, thanks to Full Gas, who will set you up to watch on Zoom when you enroll and make a donation. We have 4 rides, 1 per month, starting on September 19. They last an hour, and if you have a smart trainer, you can pedal your way through the reserve, or you can just sit back with a cup of tea. In either case, knowing that your participation is helping keep the animals safe and free to roam. Come and join me, and all the information you need to have is at kareka.co.za/peloton, and let's go.
Great stuff. It's been a fantastic show. Thanks again to Neil the Sheriff Stevens, to Vaughan McVilly, Dave McKenzie. Anything you want to add before we go, Iffy?
Yes, I'm very excited about tomorrow night's show. Tomorrow night we're going to
say today's stage. So put up the stage profile.
Well, we can get that up in a second. But tomorrow we're talking with Gary Clively, who is a legend. He's the first Australian to not only finish top 10 in a Vuelta, he's the first Australian, but I've done a little bit of research. He's the first Australian to finish top 10 in a Grand Tour. That's pretty impressive. And there is an amazing story with this. A lot of people wouldn't know, so we'll save it all for tomorrow. But Gary is a superstar and a really nice guy. So I look forward to that. But yeah, wake up tonight's stage because it's a ripper.
Stage 14.
Yeah, that's tonight. Who are we going to pick for this one, mate?
Oh, I think we're going to have to pick someone that is been sort of snaking, a good climber that could potentially get up the road. You know, it's always sort of that stage where there's a rider that's been holding back a little bit, but shown form, 3 or 4 days ago or whatever. Who went well on the last sort of tough mountain stage?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's hard to go past Roglic at the time, and of course it's Mass and Lopez and Haig. But I got a feeling it could be someone, because they're all going to be hurting and they're all going to be watching each other. But someone, maybe a Vlasov, because he's now 6 minutes down. Or
someone that's dropped off the GC. Yeah,
even Sepp Kuss, the American, because Roglic would be happy to let him go. And he's,
he's 3 minutes behind Roglic.
Yeah, 5 minutes. Yeah, 3 minutes behind. So something like that.
I think Wendy Superfan might have the winner, Caruso.
Wow,
I think
capable.
That's it.
He's a good one. Yeah.
What do you think, Jay Vine? I think we already had insights that he's going to save himself. Sally thinks Bardet.
Good one, very good one. Yeah,
yes.
Put him in the mix. Yeah, put him in the mix.
And Leon, he says, great show, guys. Love the mental health tips. I've always believed the best therapist has 4 legs, fur, and a wagging tail. 100%. Dog's awesome. Yeah. So who are you going to tip? I'll go Caruso.
It could have been a cat. It could be a cat. Yeah,
I'll follow Wendy in. I think Caruso. I think that's a great one. Free Ranger thinks Storer.
Well, I mean, it's the type of stage that he could definitely be in the mix for this one. I like Vlasov.
Okay, Vlasov, and I'll go Caruso. Hey, thanks again for joining us, guys. It was a monster episode, and as Iffy said, join us tomorrow night. And keep telling your mates, keep supporting the show, youtube.com/the Detour Podcast, and keep sharing your tips, your photos, your experiences. #Detour Podcast on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, and we'll share your stories starting tomorrow. Thanks again, Iffy. We'll see you again tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Ciao for now.
This is the winning ride of the Tour de France.